over anybody they want. Here we go, game number 1. Could be a fight to break off. Cox, he's going to move right in. Just a bit of a God's Rebuke, does back his way out. Going to be a 1-for-1 so far in the bounties, and it does end up in a 2-for-2 trade. So a nice even start between these two teams. And this mid lane is, I think, the one you and I are the most intrigued by. You are going to have Mac on that mid Bounty Hunter against Chuan on the mid Queen of Pain. Obviously, this should be Queen of Pain favor.
It should certainly be. It's a little bit harder for Mac to clear out the creep waves. It's easier for Chuan to just shove it out. Starts with a Scream of Pain as well, and Mac's always going to be in range to cop that. He can't even stand outside and try to shuriken toss. The range of Scream is just a lot wider. Rune control as well is not the comfiest thing for Mac to try to pull off here. So I'm interested to see why they went for the bounty timing. I think the lane is just set for Chuan to just build off of, especially as he approaches level 2, level 3. Once he's got the points in Shadow Strike, it becomes pretty hellish for Mac. He is doing a good job of just spamming out the shuriken toss. Level 1 at 50 mana is pretty cost efficient in comparison to Chuan at 120 for Scream, so it is more economical for Mac to just spam out the shuriken toss whenever he can, and in that way he can try to trade with Chuan on the Quap, I suppose, just having more mana to play with.
He's actually doing a great job of it. We'll have a look at the top lane while we're here. Of course, you're going to have Jing on that bench. He'll be there with the off-lane Cox Mars, and you are going to have Ponyo and Akashi against them. Seems like Akashi already requesting Ponyo goes for the small camp pool, because Cox does have some great creep equilibrium going his way at the moment. But this lane doesn't really feel like that much of a threat, I want to say, for Akashi. As long as he reacts quick enough to like a magic missile or a spear, he should be just fine.
Yeah, you still have to respect it to an extent. I think Cox has shown time and time again how efficient he can be on this offlane. Cox and Jing have just been a fantastic duo to watch from these close and open qualifiers. They've just shown time and time again that the momentum of Geek Fam tends to come from this lane. And Cox tends to try to look for those kill opportunities very aggressively by the time he hits 3 or 4. So that's an initial time we're going to be looking for. Akashi doing a decent enough job of just finding farm. This is going to be a more passive lane for the side of Talon. It will harass Cox a bit, but I don't see a kill threat lining up on his Mars anytime soon.
Absolutely not. In fact, they're going to try for Akashi, but you saw the strength morph was immediate from the Morphling, so I mean, Akashi, if this is indeed his favorite hero, you'd expect him to be quite fast there with the strength morphing, and well, that time he was indeed. Of course, the one lane we haven't discussed too much is the bottom lane, where you'll see WS and Jokam against Skem and Natsumi, and it kind of feels like a similar story down at that bot lane. John, just not too much they can do in the way of shutting down Natsumi here. I suppose at the same time, WS is not going to have a bad time either, so you kind of accept the fact. Oh, hold on a minute, top lane, Akashi barely survives. I cannot believe that spear did not land onto that tree. It's like a pixel away.
Yeah, it's been a little funky sometimes for that spear. I've seen a lot of cases where it just flies right through an opening. In a lot of these open qualifiers, Cox has been pretty frustrated with that. Still, Kashi gets the hang on and just clinging onto his dear life again. The aggression from Geek Fam, the aggression that Jing and Cox brings to that offlane is pretty high. There's not too much Ponyo can do about it. He can always heal up Akashi, and that is one thing with this lane. The efficiency of healing is pretty damn good. I do like that Akashi has gone for the adaptive at level 3. So a 0-2-1 build, which does lend itself to just clearing out range creep, getting a few free bits of harassment off with the adaptive strike. But again, you're looking to play passive here, and Akashi is just looking to maximize farm. As this level 3, level 4 approaches, though, for the side of Geek, you do have to be slightly concerned. You're doing a great job as well in Jing, just keeping their camps open, and trying to deny off the small camp pull, which is blocked again, so it's not going to be as comfy. Or at least the large camp Jing is just going to body block it once more.
Well, I hate to switch topics something like this, John, but I've got to talk about this mid lane again. I mean, I take everything I said back. Mac is actually winning the lane quite single-handedly. It does go back to the point you made earlier about the mana efficiency of the shuriken toss. Just constantly spamming that out, never running out of mana with this bottle, and Chuan, he's not able to keep up with this. It's actually very annoying for the Quap.
Yeah, it's going a lot better than I expected. As soon as you hit level 2, level 3 shuriken toss, like you can sit outside of the range of most harassment of Chuan. And he's not able to fully keep Chuan down. He is still keeping up in farm, but this is a lot more presence from this bounty hunter. Level 6 timing should be lining up nicely. And that's where we have to see Mac kind of utilize that early spike. You know, is he going to try to rotate elsewhere? His supports can easily rotate onto the mid as well. Chuen only has that one value point in the blink. They do manage to find Jing going a little bit far though.
Yeah, Ponyo almost missed out on that. He had an uphill miss, but in the end he does secure the kill. Very, very nice secure there for Ponyo. Oh, Mac actually dropping very low on the mid lane. Ponyo looking to maybe connect, but he's just going to take a large camp instead while he's at it. Could just stick around here though if he really wants to and just start annoying the crap out of Mac. Mac's going to get a free bottle refill anyway thanks to Jing TPing in, so he'll have the region now available for himself. But it seems as though Ponyo is indeed going to perhaps hang around mid and start looking to pressure that mid tier 1 tower, if not try to take Mac's life. Mac playing very defensively, knowing that the Enchantress is missing. But with the siege creep available at the level, rather the 5-minute timing, you could still try for the tier 1 tower. It's a classic Ench play. You go in at the 5 minutes, use the siege creep with a large cap, and eventually you will just take out half the HP of the tower.
Yeah, they do manage to find the ward Ponyo was sitting under as well. So take a little bit of that coverage coming out from Geek and still keep camping mid. They've got the amplified damage rune onto Chuen. So this is that opportunity. 3 heroes mid, looking for a bit of a shove.
Yeah, they're going to try now. There you go, the tier 1 tower. I mean, it's not going to go down that quickly, but again, with the siege creep available, he's doing some good work here. They are going to rotate even more heroes from Geek Map to try and ensure it does remain defended. Keep in mind, they do have track available now on Max, so they can keep up the vision quite nicely. And it seems as though the support rotations from Geek Fam are going to pay off. They do lose a bit of damage on that tier 1 mid tower, about half its HP in fact, but it does remain standing.
And it does. The movement also frees up the side lanes. It's a little bit rougher for Akashi to deal with Cox at his level 5. So he's starting to fall a little bit behind. The side of Talon are also not able to do as much down bot. I think that's one thing that's really shaped up here. WS is not in a position where he can really fully pressure into that tier 1. You've got a lot of room for Natsumi to keep his farm game up. He's very well protected with a good ward watching that gate as well. And WS is still a ways off from his 6 for pressure onto bot while things happen elsewhere. So you're not getting that strong pushing action from DK anytime soon. And a more passive game, early on at the very least, is much more efficient for the side of Geek, simply because, well, Natsumi's going to be able to farm faster. It is a Luna. Its farming pace is going to kick in. Akashi's going to have to scrounge what he can. I think, again, for Talon, they're leaning towards that early to mid game with emphasis on the mid. And the movement... It's a lot slower for game. If they manage to capitalize on this as well without all the action and take an objective, I think that's where the map really opens up. They've got to eye either mid or bot. Like, it's going to be off of Chuen finding a good fight or WS just hitting Elder Dragon form, getting some AFK space to shove in solo. Geek Fam, though, they want to play with his track here.
Yeah, they're going to find Jocam. Keep the vision up. Track is out. Shuriken toss with the Ignite slow, and now the Magic Missile to fly out. So Jocam certainly going to go down as they'll turn on to Chuen now. Chuen going to go for the big Sonic Wave out onto 2. Max still dropping rather low on the Bounty Hunter. Will try to juke around the tree line, but it does eventually go down. Gets the tracks off before he goes, though, so they'll keep trying to find some more kills. But it's only 2 supports left over. They'll find the Yench, but they're going to lose the Ogre. There's now Jing. He does have help from Natsumi. And Chuen, well, he's going to try and get out of there. Looks like he will be okay in the end, though. It was looking somewhat scary as the fight did progress. And John, don't forget, those were all track kills for Geek Fam. So a lot of gold going the way of the Radiant.
Yep. Ends up being a 2 for 2 and a very favorable trade for the side of Geek Fam. And this is that timing we were looking for from Geek. Mac hits 6. They start to look for some action. They start to force out some kills. They've got really strong single target burst with a Shuriken toss, and just with the damage coming out from these supports, like Magic Missile, it's nothing to be scoffed at. Ignite at level 3 is a lot of burn as well over time. However, you do get that space for WS to start shoving in bot. They also drag in Ponyo with a creep army, and there's where that siege starts to kick in for Talon as well. And that bot tier 1 going to fall. They are in position to try to force a fight out, and Mac is coming in here.
And these are all track kills if they can get him. Ponyo will be targeted. Mac does not need too much help. The spear coming in from the backside, not going to land, but they will secure the track kill. Another nice kill there for the bounty. You find the tier 1 tower, but it's kind of a question of how much gold do you want to give this mid bounty hunter? Because he will become a real menace at some point.
Yeah, and I think you're already reaching that point where max damage is just going to scale up. Maxed out Shuriken Toss. They've got the smoke out. Cox is ready to move as well. Very durable with a double bracer and 2 gauntlets. So it's not the target that you can easily burn down on Talon. They do lack damage outside of Chuen right now. They do manage to find the objective at the very least on mid and on bot, so map control is in their favor, but Geek Fam are the ones that are still lining up for more. Talon does manage to get a read and back off. I think the important thing for Talon is, while this action is breaking out and while they are losing some kills here and there, Akashi is getting a lot of free space, so despite this Morphling maybe having a bit of a rougher start in laning, he is keeping up with that Luna's farm as Mac.
Bit of a chase down here from Chuen, but it is going to be alright. The carries are certainly like staying quite close by to each other in terms of the net worth board. I mean, props to Kashi, who's actually ahead of the Luna. But that being said, to be fair to him, he has had a very free time. Like, nobody's pressuring this Morphling.
Yeah, and that is certainly the shining star here for Talon, just having this build-up going on. The Morph he already has his Vlad's up and running. And the side of Geek, well, you know, they've got the steady build-up coming out for Natsumi. They've got everything kind of running. They've got that early massive madness going on Luna. And they are starting to push up top, so they're trying to look for their own objectives to play with. Again, the push potential of the side of Geek Fam, just with Bloodlust and Luna and Avenge Aura, it doesn't take too long for them to fully commit as well.
It's not. They'll start on the top tier one. Fox and Natsumi will be able to get this done by themselves by the looks of it. No real defense to come out. Thing is, you have lost the mid-tier 1 tower here for the side of Geek Fam, so it's not exactly the greatest situation for them. As they're still going to go ahead and secure that top tier 1. No problems for them. Natsumi now top of the net worth board, just barely by about 1 creep. You kind of wonder, like, is there much pressure for Geek Fam to get moving? Seems like they might just wait out at least the Spirit Vessel timing on Mac before they really get into the fight again. Try to play off that power spike of the Bounty Hunter. But it is going to give Talon plenty of time to try to hit their own power spikes going into this mid-game, that's for sure.
Yeah. At the very least, with that space taken top, we'll try to make a smoke move across the map. They've got level 6 up on Jing, swap ready to go for some pullbacks as well. Chuen, not too safe here.
It's not Cox, he's gonna land a spear. Oh, that's a great arena! Oh, that's right on the edge from Cox. It's what you love to see, and but Chuen, he just was not expecting that. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a great move out from the side of Geek, and that's why you can't underestimate Cox. Like, he has just been a monster on this off lane, and he has just been constantly being able to set up. The invis coming out as well from Mac makes it really hard to scout out this movement.
Certainly does. Go gonna be alright in the end. Mac not gonna be able to get too much out of that situation, but we're now 4-3, very slight net worth lead still sitting there for Talon, so I mean, overall, considering the game state, I think Talon is still sitting pretty comfy. Knowing they found those initial structures and knowing they're still getting plenty of farm on Akashi. A very even game between these two teams, which I think says a lot more for Geek Fam, right? Because you do have the bounty on your side of things, so you were not looking for a very even game, but that's exactly what they're getting.
That's what they're getting for now. It is set to catapult. I like the build-up coming out from Mac, just going for that full Spirit Vessel, so you will have an early answer for Akashi if you do jump in, but Akashi's already going for that Manta style anyway, so whether or not you'll be able to hunt down this Morphling remains a question that Geek Fam has not quite answered. I think, again, overall, considering this game pace, it's on Geek Fam to try to keep building this up. They will hit this time with Cox. Blink is coming up for a Mars, so initiation is going to smooth up. And again, as the levels go up, you know, as you start to commit more onto the Bloodlust, as Natsumi starts to get ready for these fights, going for his own Manta as well, it gets dangerous. Just all these auras coming in. If you can't find the backline on Talon, and there's a ton of pressure on Chuen to find that backline, then in a sustained fight, you're just not going to be in a good spot. They'll outdamage you just with the auras, just with how much right-click Natsumi will bring out, and just how much burst damage Geek Fam has at this point in the game. Talon, they'll try for a smoke play out though. They've got the Mage Slayer up on Chuen, and they're trying to get some farm up on WS with his Midas into the Blink. See where that smoke takes them. They don't have the best forward vision here. It's Geek Fam's map right now with a vision game.
Now that it is, Talon, they're still going to try and move north to... Oh, Natsumi. Natsumi! He's trapped between a rock and a hard place, and he is just as good as dead. And the Luna just standing no chance when they pincer him in like that, and that's very unfortunate for Natsumi. I mean, you were having a great game on that Luna, but now with that initial death going, the D wards start coming out here from Talon in their own jungle, and they might try for Joe Camp at the least. Joe Camp, he'll get swapped in, so a nice track kill, but now Talon looking to try and capitalize and punish the side of Geek Fam. They'll get one stun onto the Ogre, so Skim's going to be targeted by Akashi, but a nice spear and arena out from Cox going to lock down the Morphling. In comes Chuen, but he's gone a bit too far. I think it's a Sonic Wave. It only lands on Mac. Mac is perfectly fine. He'll keep walking away, that the chase is on. They'll eventually perhaps find the bounty, and they will. So it's not the worst trade in the world for either side, but my goodness, it was looking a bit too close for comfort there for Talon.
Yeah, a little bit rocky. They do allow Scam to run away. But I like that target prioritization coming from Chuen. He sees the bigger target. He tries to clip multiple heroes while in that arena and sacrifices that potential Ogre kill, which isn't a higher priority target. That does lead to them getting that chase down on Mac. Chuen!
Caught. They have got the Mars. No, in fact, it was Cox that was caught out. Cox going to keep going for the run. He's just so slow on this Mars. Eventually, Chuen going to land another Shadow Strike to secure the kill here with Ponyo. Talon finding another spicy pickup for themselves. Cox, I mean, he's not such a small kill. You know, losing that Mars is not going to feel very good for Geek Fam. WS?
No, certainly not. Oh.
I thought perhaps they would think about the DK kill, but probably would be lacking the damage.
I do appreciate just how willing WS is to joining these fights. Like, he gets that blink, instantly he's joining in onto that mid-fight. And one issue you do have going up against Geek Fam, again, is just how long can you take these fights? Because right now you have to... The last fight goes well for them because the arena wasn't as big. It goes on to Akashi, who they don't focus down, even with the Spirit Vessel running, so there's a lot of room for the rest of Talon to play around. But down the line, it feels like Talon's going to have to play it almost like a counter-initiate game. I don't see their openings being as grand outside of just WS finding these openings for them. And I don't see Geek Fam splitting hard enough for you to keep playing the pickoff game. And when it comes down to these big fights, you kind of have to hope that Cox won't land that pivotal arena onto like one big target. Ponyo.
Mid lane, Ponyo. Nice easy pickoff here for Mac and Natsumi. And yeah, it's all about the track goal. They're always willing to get anyone they can get here on the side of Geek Fam as long as Mac is around with the track. Of course, it is going to open up the mid-tier 1 tower as well. It doesn't seem as though Talon are too interested in trying to force a defense here. That Geek Fam are the ones looking for another kill attempt. They're not going to find anyone quite yet. But both teams have grouped up around that triangle area. Seems like Geek Fam want to ensure they maintain control of this position. Talon, they've not backed off though. There are more TPs coming down towards the bottom lane, which could be very detrimental for them if the side of Geek Fam realize they are just south of them. Skem's going to go ahead and scout this one out for his team. There is vision here from the side of Talon to get this information over. Jump is there. They're going to try and to Skem. Skem on the Ogre, dropping very, very low, but a nice arena is down, locking them all in as they do take down the Ogre once, but the Eclipse is coming right through from Natsumi. They've got Ponyo down, and there's WS to follow. Joe Cam also trying to run, but is going to drop as the third. Talon, they'll get the Ogre, but it just took them so much to kill off Scam, and they lose 3 for that.
And this is where that damage issue comes in. That you just don't have that burst outside of a full commitment coming out from Chuen. And it's just, they can't start these fights that strong. Their AoE control is basically just Jokam with Bushwhack, which is not the most reliable. You get a really good movement in from Cox, again landing a big arena to entrap them. And it's just, if you try to go for these pickoffs in Talon, it's just not as silky smooth as it is for Geek Fam. Not with all of these shuriken tosses, even just the damage out from the magic missile. How sustainable Geek Fam is with that full Solar Crest up and the swap saves coming in with its own barrier. A lot of damage you have to pump out on Talon, which they just don't have right now. So you have to be a little bit cautious. It's opening though.
Jump top lane, they're going to try for the Mars. Cox, he's got no help around him. Sharpshooter is going to land, though Cox still going for a bit of a run. Will go towards the tree line, trying to hide, but they are going to catch him eventually. Nice little attempt there from Cox, but not nice enough.
Yeah, gets a little bit greedy just shoving up top. Good punishment coming out from Talon's end. Not the biggest thing for you to lose out here on Geek, considering that you are getting, again, a ton of space out for Natsumi to keep scaling up. And you are inching to this point where Mac is going to have some debuff immunity with the BKB and the Ags. The Ags is going to be massive. Again, with how long these fights take for Talon to find a kill, you'll be able to get off every single track. You'll be tossing a ton of shurikens out once that Ags is up and running. And it gets dangerous. It becomes a really slippery slope for Talon to just lose a lot of network very fast, for Geek Fam to find a huge advantage that the Luna can capitalize on very well. You already have a 3k lead up for Natsumi at this point. And you throw in a couple more team fights with Track, and this Luna's going to be hard here to have an answer for. Like there's so much pressure for Talon on WS and on Chuen to kind of find these openings in these fights, or find a way to angle in, maybe force out the arena early from Cox, but Cox has proven that he's grown a little bit more patient. You know, he understands how these fights should break out, and the openings for Talon just grow smaller and smaller with how well Geek Fam is playing.
Yeah, Geek Fam certainly playing at a bit of a higher level so far here for this game number one. They'll rotate through the twin gates towards the bottom side of the map. Natsumi just wanting to address the creep wave that was incoming through the bottom lane.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Rest of Geek Fam, though, not going to leave him alone. They are still looking for a bit of a fight. Nobody really hanging around this area from Talon. Talon just ensuring all other lanes are split pushed out. And of course, they understand they don't really want to fight the side of Geek Fam at the moment. Geek Fam's certainly the stronger team by the looks of it. Problem is, though, Roshan is open. So Geek Fam, they'll find no fight. Instead, they'll go for the Roshan pit. First Roshan of the game. Lincoln Sphere now available on Natsumi as well, so a nice little defensive spike for him. And in fact, never mind Roshan. They'll go for a smoke attempt. A 5-man smoke towards the north, through the bottom lane, but they're not going to find anyone. They were expecting the Talon, knew they were in the Roshan and were coming, but that was not the case. Seems as though Talon have no idea.
No information, no scans coming out onto that area. No scans available anyway. And Roche, it doesn't take too long when you've got the Bloodlust here. Even with just the Luna and the Bounty Hunter in that pit. Talon aren't finding enough while this is falling. Like, they're not fully sieging on top, they're not pressuring the lanes hard enough, they are just playing it safe, farming jungle, missing out on a lot of efficiency. And Geek Fam will just come out on top. They still hold on to that really good ward on the triangle that came since that last fight near that area. And they've got the setup to kind of shove in bot, maybe even consider a poke on the high ground, although they are racking around here.
Yeah, they're going to try for Mac. Mac does have help on the way, but they will at least find the bounty first, as now Chuen needs to run. Chase was on, he'll be able to blink away. The Cox joining in now, still trying to find the Queen of Pain, but Chuen is well and truly out of there. He will be just fine. So a great pickup. I mean, you got the mid bounty hunter basically for free. He was just trying to secure the Wisdom Root and farm some creeps, and did not realize the whole of Talon were hanging around that area. And so Talon are doing a pretty damn good job of just finding these solo pickoffs and avoiding the 5-on-5 engagement.
Top tower is under attack.
And it's still a rather even game despite all these circumstances. Like, the situations for Geek Fam, they've still got to find these big team fights with track kills. And they need to escalate not just the Luna. It does feel like you're falling a little bit behind on Mac and Cox in terms of their own build-up as well. Natsumi is just doing a Luna thing, shoving in top with the illusions, and again, it doesn't take too long for the objectives to fall. You've got the Vengeance Aura hanging around here with a Lunar Blessing, even through backdoor. It's not going to take too long for Natsumi to just get this done. So you are shrinking the map of Talon, but Talon as well are just going for a shove. They find a tier 2 trade with WS. Now, how hard do you poke the high ground? Natsumi's just going for it right now.
They absolutely are. You've got to address this surely, but Talon, they're going to go for the trade instead, going through the bottom lane. Just believing they can actually race Geek Fam here, and I believe they actually can with the Dragon Knight. The TPs are now incoming, so they want to try and defend and push this out. They'll move in, Joe Camp starting on the Skem. Skem will be okay to back off with the rest of his team. and it seems as though Geek Fam, they have lost the T3 tower. They will be around to defend the racks, but Talon are the ones that came out on top of that exchange.
And that's kind of sick coming out from Talon. Managing to clear out bot, having a minimal defense up top, even doing some unhealable damage onto the range racks here as well. The one creep wave shove in, you're going to have a super creep advantage on range, which isn't massive, but still helps in just keeping lane equilibrium your way passively. So a pretty big win from Talon, considering that they're playing against Aegis, they're playing against the superior team fight, they're playing against this vision game that Geek Fam has maintained a little bit better than Talon as well. And despite all of this, Geek Fam, they're not able to fully commit. They will be able to find more tier 2s. I think Talon accepts that they can't really risk it right now. They can't risk going into this team fight with Cox and his looming threat of Arena and his fresh BKB up here as well. And with the amplified damage still hanging on Natsumi for a little bit longer, a little bit more pressure onto that high ground.
They're going to try and chip away at Natsumi, who is pressuring that T3 tower. Top lane, seems like Ponyo has been scouted out here by Mac and Cox, so Ponyo's being chased down here on the edge and he is gone. It's already one down for the side of Talon, so you could think about going high ground again as Geek Fam. Mind you, there is a buyback available on Ponyo, so he can come back to fight if he needs to. Talon, it doesn't really seem like they're very comfortable with this fight. And Geek Fam are asking them for at this point. T3 tower in the mid lane is going to drop, and Natsumi will get started on the mid racks. Just so confident to stand his ground and just keep this up as WS just going to get swapped right in. And he is just as good as gone. Chuen trying to help out, but the Sonic Wave just does no damage. Jing, the only one to go down to the vent, as Talon are desperately still trying to defend this, but Natsumi is just slowly bouncing glaives everywhere off this racks. They will find Scam, and it seems that that's going to be enough here for the side of Geek Fam to back their way out. They'll get a range racks, but that's going to be about it.
And Talon are making these high ground pushes really tough for the side of Geek Fam. They lose 2 for 1. They do find a range racks, but you're playing in with Aegis. They get a really decent arena from Cox to cut off the area and try to entrap Chuen, forcing out that BKB charge, but not able to find a follow-up. Talon's issues, on the other hand, is still damage. Right? Like, their damage and control is still lacking. You do have that Kanda build-up on Akashi. Now, this is a build that I find extremely funny on Morphling because of Adaptive Strike, right? So you do so much damage with Adaptive based on your Agi, and then Kanda's based on your attack damage as well. Like, it is a ton of burst. I don't think you're at the point for Akashi where that burst is that big just yet. So he's being tracked around by Mac.
Chase is on from Mac. Akashi will let him know that he does see. Going back to the Kanda item for a moment, in fact, hold that thought, because there is a lot of heroes now trying to find Akashi on this Morphling, who is Agi morphing as we speak. Instead, they're going to move on to Jokam. Jokam looking to tank the gank, does get onto the high ground, and he looks like he might be alright. Oh, he gets out. Did they not have swap? I could have sworn Wave of Terror hit him.
I think it was right outside the edge of vision. I think the issue was, as well, that Cox didn't realize his God's Rebuke sent him up the hill. So he goes for a sensible spear angle when he blinks north going down south, but it's not there. That was just unfortunate in the God's Rebuke. If it went anywhere else, in any other direction, they would have found that. Still, should be able to find a tier 2 for their trouble here. And Talon haven't been able to do as much to try to repair their situation just yet in terms of map control. The vision game from Talon still somewhat lacking outside of these forward wards down bot.
Cox is going to be spotted. BKB immediately up from the quap. Oh, nice swap though! Jing's going to make it in time, gets the swap out. And Natsumi's even on the chase now. They would love themselves a free quap kill. The Cox, he does not have the blink available. It keeps being put on cooldown thanks to the Shadow Strike damage. So Chuen is still going to be able to run his way out of this scenario. But that was a bit too close for comfort, I want to say.
Radiant's middle tower is
And it is. But it's also a massive commitment from Geek Fam, right? Everyone TP's down. They're not able to try to sustain and force a push in down bot while they're down the Queen of Pain. So you're not able to look for big gains in map control just yet. They are trying to shove in top. The racks are exposed. Aluna can just rip apart these racks very quickly. And they do have Arena and everything else ready to go on Geek Fam. Talon, they've got to kick their defense onto overdrive once more. It's just so tough. Like, you have to really be cautious of Cox and his arenas. That tends to make these really tough, and your BKB's down on Chuen as well. So you don't have that front line with the Quap jumping in right now.
Scanning.
There's the top racks, just no contest. Natsumi will go for the secondary racks in the mid lane. Talon want to try and defend this one, but they are not really committing quite yet. WS trying to move in with the Ogre Seal Totem, not quite within range for the stun. Mid-rack still standing, however, but Natsumi is not looking to retreat. They will move in once again to try and claim this racks as it is down now, but the jump is out from the side of Talon, trying for Natsumi, but the swap was there. No damage being dealt to the Luna, and now they'll look to just turn right back around. Natsumi, though, does maybe need to back his way out. He does get locked down by a nice bushwhack out from the Hoodwink, and it seems though Natsumi is actually going to go down. So will Scam. And in fact, Gleipnir catching out Cox. Another kill to come the way of Chuen. Jokam, he'll get all the tips from his team. It's a perfect setup. I thought that was going to be a bad fight for Talon, but the turnaround was there.
They're holding their own now on Talon's end. Mind you, they are still losing objectives here, Mike. Mid's gone, top's gone. Map advantage for Geek Fam for sure, but it's an opening for Talon. We're starting to see that damage ramp up, the control from Jokam kicking in every single time he can land that Acorn to Bushwhack. I think one big part as well was Akashi just turning into the Luna and having Lucent Beam with Konda as well. Like how spammable, how much range he has. That additional control and damage for Akashi coming in is just massive, and they're forced to preemptively use their Spirit Vessel onto Akashi. He's holding onto Manta just for that. Just to have that Dispel for that healing reduction. And when you can't hold down Akashi and play off of that Spirit Vessel onto him, the Morphling is free to just juggle around the attributes and play in the backline as a spellcaster. That's what the Konda allows you to do. You're still doing damage even without right-clicking as the Morphling. You just stand back, spam Adaptive Strike, spam Lucent Beam, and you're still doing a ton of work for your team.
This item feels like it was literally made for Morphling. You know, it's just Ethereal Blade's no longer good, no problem. Here's a Kanda. Why the hell not? Ponyo, bottom lane. Does get tracked, but they haven't actually landed a stun on Ponyo. In fact, he does have Akashi right behind him if necessary. Here come the rest of Talon as well. It could be an interesting team fight for them to try and force, as Mac does lose half his HP from one adaptive strike. Mr. Ice Frog, I know this is your son, sir, but you've got to calm down with these Morphling, these items you can get more. It's too much sometimes, John. It's just too much.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. It's so hilarious. The cooldown as well is almost perfect with Adaptive Strike.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's silly. Still, this fight could end up being very silly for either side caught out here.
Yeah, you got an Ancient Black Dragon as well here on WS, so that kind of movable through the terrain. It's going to be a bit of an issue here as Mac gets stunned up first. The mid Bounty Hunter in trouble, but a nice swap out. Jing not going to allow the Bounty Hunter to get bursted too quickly. Just see how much damage has been dealt already the way of Talon, or rather the way of Geek Fam, I should say. The Talon certainly feeling like they might just be strong enough to force a 5v5 engagement now. Chuen jumps in again onto Natsumi. They'll try for Cox as well. Cox dropping rather low. Is going to barely survive. 30 HP he gets away on. The TPs are there. They'll lose Jing, but everyone else gets their way out. But Talon, they have first dibs on secondary Roshan.
Yeah, there's no stopping this. Arenas drop, BKBs were committed from the side of Geek. And control has been forcibly gained from Talon. Love this ward as well, watching the outpost here, down bot, right outside of that sentry range. They've got control. And with Roche number 2 coming their way, and Talon, they've got the Roshan's banner to keep a lane shoved in. They've got the secondary life on Akashi. They've got all the tools they need. And for Geek Fam, we were talking about their timings earlier on, Mike. This is a very early to mid-game oriented draft, and they just haven't snowballed in that direction in the way they wanted to. This Ag's timing for Mac is thrown off as well after his BKB, and he was forced to kind of go Midas as well to kind of just build up the EXP, trying to fast track his way onto 20, onto 25, which is still a long ways off now for a Bounty Hunter mid, severely behind in EXP actually in comparison to Natsumi. Talon, they've done a great job, you know, of holding on to the high ground, of playing up against 2 lanes of super creeps. Now all they need to do is find a way to pierce that opposing high ground as well. They've got to find a way to equalize on the racks. Akashi is going to be taking point, and you just can't underestimate the damage of this Morphling. Adaptive Strike with Konda, it's just so silly, man. Half HP is just nuts.
He's Max Agi. Here we go. let's see it, Akashi. Somebody's going to show himself just for the lols, you know? Just so we can enjoy ourselves here with this adaptive strike. We'll see as they are looking to go high ground in this bottom lane. 3.5 minutes on the Aegis timing, so plenty of time here for Akashi to try and play with that first life. Get started on the bottom racks. Natsumi gonna have his Lincolns broken. They'll try to go through Akashi's first life, but he's just such a tanky boy. He's not going anywhere quite yet. The mid racks, though, in fact, he'll jump onto the Luna. Natsumi will be able to retreat for now. Akashi. They got the range racks. Do they want to stick around for the melee? Seems like the answer will probably be... It'll be no. They'll let the creep wave go and they will not overextend.
It's a very disciplined move from Talon. They've got control of the map so far with mid and bot shoving in. Top will shove against their favor, the super creeps, but they are looking for that angle in. And they've taken the range racks to equalize bot just a bit more, and they're keeping mid shoved in to have that entry point after taking one set of racks. They do have Dragon Form. It's going to be on cooldown for a little bit, half a minute once it fades. So they might want to wait for that secondary use on WS. But it's just more time to get that build up. Because once this BKB's up on Akashi, I do not know how you stop this more. Like, again, they were banking on that Spirit Vessel and Chain Control, but once Akashi can just not get stunned, he's going to be very happy standing again in the middle, getting some right clicks and adaptive strikes off. And there's that BKB flying out now.
There it is, once again. With BKB now available, and I gotta tell you, Talon are looking like a stronger draft at this stage of the game as Geek Fam a lot more hesitant to try and move in for that 5v5, but Talon, they'll smoke up immediately as 5. They know exactly where Geek Fam are in that Radiant Triangle. They've just got to try and move their way up without getting scouted. There is going to be a BKB being built up on Natsumi, and it is on the courier, and now it's available. Jokam, he's going to move in. He gets a bit of vision, but it may cost his own life as Jokam will get bursted down. Akashi, he tries to move in and help out. He'll be just fine to survive through the initial onslaught as they're trying to swap away their carries here on the side of Geek Fam and just get them the hell out of there. Jing is going to sacrifice his life. Akashi, he's on a Natsumi, and Natsumi's down. Natsumi is down. 2 have been lost for Geek Fam, and John, he just bought his BKB. He's got no buyback gold.
This is going to be a terror on the high ground. Talon, with that Black Dragon form, it's not going to take them too long to push. And there's no strong defense to mount. They're going to try to hold off the creep wave down bot, but they're rushing straight for the tier 4s. They know that buyback isn't there.
This is a classic SCA loss here, John. That's what I'm going to call it. This is a classic SCA loss. Hox is desperately trying to push out the mid creep wave, but the creeps are going to survive long enough. Onto the mid tier 4 towers they'll go. With that ancient Black Dragon form in the Morphling, it's very hard to defend against this as Mac is just going to get deleted. He'll buy back immediately. They're just trying to buy enough time for their Luna to be back up, but the GG's called.
You call it.
Natsumi has seen enough. It's not like he really has a choice anyway. The Ancient is now officially down before the game even ends. And Talon, my goodness, Jonathan, I mean, that first 20-25 minutes was a bit rough on their end, but they just kind of trust